The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
More than half of the women in my administration are women.
It's time that everybody wake up and pay attention.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
President Biden's approval rating ranks right up there with jock itch.
Come on, man. Give me a little break here.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfrage Show.
President Joe Biden and Donald Trump were both down in Texas on the border yesterday, and much different responses to what is going on down there. President Biden was in Brownsville, Texas, and Donald Trump was in Eagle Pass, Texas. That's, as I said yesterday, Eagle Pass really is kind of ground zero of what we have seen with the, border crossings and so on. And I wanted to share some more news and to continue to get your thoughts on it. This is just a huge story this morning. The president's reaction versus Donald Trump's reaction. And I would welcome your reaction and your thoughts. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. Lines are open right now, 605-336-1320 if you'd like to join the program. Most of you, and I understand, a lot of frustration out there as we talk about this. Just a powerful amount of frustration that folks are here that are feeling based on these different approaches to the border. So the president, as he started yesterday, his comments, he started out by talking about these wildfires that Texas, wow. Had another story earlier this morning, because this is huge news, and the amount of land and this wildfire, it's just growing at a phenomenal rate. So the president then addressing the issue of the wildfires, and he said, I've flown over a lot of these wildfires since I've been president. He said, flown over more land, burned to the ground, all the vegetation gone, more than the entire state of Maryland in square footage, he said. And then he turned from the conversation then from the wildfire to it's climate change. This is due to climate change. And he said, the idea there's no such thing as climate change. I love that, man. He said, I love some of my Neanderthal friends who think there's no climate change. No, obviously the climate is changing. Climate has always changed. We see that. What I reject is then using climate change as then a means for government to destroy fossil fuels, all the things the left has always hated. They use climate change. That's their end. We got to get everybody hooked on climate change. Oh, the threat. Oh, the threat to humanity. Use that as the hook, then, to draw people in, scare the hell out of them. I don't deny that the climate changes. Climate change. If you know about the dinosaurs, the impact, the climate, the change in the climate. Well, now, that happened for different reasons, but hey, we all get it. We know what the wildfires do. That smoke gets up in the air. We all know that. What I really find difficult to digest is the Democrats, again, and we've got Joe Biden. He loves to play the part of Grandpa. He's out there eating his ice cream. And Grandpa eating ice cream. How can you be mad at that? How can you be mad at this guy who is out there enjoying an ice cream cone, man, saying, man, it's. Meanwhile, then he refers to his Neanderthal friends. So even, see, he can't decide. He wants to present himself. Oh, he's this nice, affable guy. He's just this nice, affable, kind of easygoing guy. That's the complete illusion, which he shatters then seconds later. My Neanderthal friends. Yeah, that's who Joe Biden really is, right there. That's who he really is. The rest of this is just a show. It's a game to him. Guy's an absolute clown. So the issue is not about, climate change. Oh, we're all deniers, and there are some that deny climate change. I'm not a denier of climate change. What I don't like seeing is Democrats using climate change as a weapon to try to go after their political opponents and then to also destroy industry, the coal industry, so on, you go on, gasoline, and all of that. All in the car industry, got to go to electric, got to move to electric. Every vehicle that is sold's got to be electric. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. So before you even get into, I think, talking about the border, the president making those comments at the start really sets the stage for even more that's going to have your, make your blood curdle as this guy speaks. It's just so infuriating to me. Honestly, I just grind. I'm a teeth grinder. And I shouldn't. It's bad for you. It's bad for your teeth. You should not grind your teeth. I'm a teeth grinder. But when he starts saying that, man, I'm just working my teeth down to the nubs. As he's going on about this stuff, oh, please give me a break. I am so sick to death of him and these people and the nonsense that they're out there. And he's not even started talking about the border yet. So it's already going south for me. I mean, the words are just starting to come out of his mouth, and I'm already, grinding my teeth. So then the president went on to, he was in Brownsville yesterday, and he was talking about the bill, the block legislation in the Senate then, that the president says would have created some of the most aggressive border restrictions in a generation. And he said both houses supported this legislation until someone came along and said, don't do that. It will benefit the incumbent. Now, he's referring to Trump. Again, everything is in the perspective of Donald Trump, Joe Biden. And then the president went on to say, that's a hell of a way to do business in America for such a serious problem. So he went on to say, talking about Trump going to Eagle Pass, and he said, here's what I would say to Mr. Trump. Instead of playing politics with the issue, instead of telling members of Congress to block this legislation, join me, or I'll join you, in telling the Congress to pass this bipartisan border security bill. We can do it together. Did we not have a caller yesterday who said this is exactly what Biden will do? I think we did. We had a caller yesterday who said this is exactly what Biden will do. This is exactly what he did. That's right on the mark. And that's the president saying, join me or I'll join you, as long as you agree with me. So join me in telling Congress to pass this legislation. And again, I just can't say strongly enough to make sure that you understand the president does not need this legislation to change his policy on the border. He doesn't need it. He's got the power he got that power when he became president. So let's get to some of your reaction. Dan is on the line this morning. Good morning, Dan. You're on Kello.
Good morning, Doctor.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, before we talk about the border, I have to correct something you said last hour. You asked if we saw the video of the alligator attacking people in the golf cart. Quite frankly, Greg, that makes an interesting mental picture. I didn't even know alligators could drive golf carts. Let alone run people down to them. That's an amazing.
No, he's running after the golf carts. Yeah.
Yeah, but you said attacking people in a golf cart. Never mind.
You love to go sideways, Dan. Every time you call.
Yeah, I do.
Do you never find yourself saying something and the words came out of your mouth not quite the way you intended? And when I'm running the board and I'm covering a million different issues and I'm trying to get in as much as I can, you think maybe you could cut me a little slack?
Greg, we love you and we cut you slack every day. I make mistakes all the time. Only when I do it, I'm in a pulpit, okay?
So don't make the mistake of calling and then starting with that kind of stuff instead of getting to the point why you picked up the phone in the first place.
I'm sorry, Greg. I apologize. Can I comment on climate change?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Climate change is an offense to me. I know it changes every year with weather, but to believe it insults my Christianity to think that a God who made the world could not make the world resilient enough to accommodate the people on it. And I don't think the president is aware how many Christians he's insulting out there who have similar beliefs.
Nah, and I don't think he cares. Do you, Dan?
No, he has complete control of the media, so I don't think he really cares in the least that he offends anybody or puts down Christians or anybody. And he could say that the sky is plaid, and the media would report that the sky is plaid today. He can broadcast any fantasy, and nobody challenges it. That's quite sad.
Well, and I think it's part of the frustration is we were talking last hour more specifically about the border and what we see happening at the border and the fact that so many Americans just seem to be blind to the issue, Dan.
Well, they're getting one side of it only, and they're not hearing what people who don't listen to conservative media are hearing. And so I think that there are possibly some people who don't believe it's a crisis. What I wish that somebody would do, and I've said this for years, is I wish somebody would put it in terms the American public could understand. If we keep this up, you will have no Social Security.
Yeah.
You will have no Social Security. And if we keep repeating that message, maybe it might get through the thick skulls of some people that you can't do charity through opening the government spigots eternally for everybody around the world.
This fire down in Texas it's devastating. I mean, a lot of land that's impacted, and it's gonna mean tragedy for some people down in Texas. And we all dislike seeing that. Do you believe it's disingenuous for the president to make this an issue then of climate change?
Well, I'm a historian, Greg. I had a minor in history in college. You wouldn't believe the size of the prairie fires they had in the 1800s, and it had nothing to do with any kind of so-called man-made climate change.
Great point.
It's not new and unique.
No, I absolutely agree with you. So then on this issue of the border, again, the president saying, he will, asking Donald Trump to, join him in passing this. He said this bill, instead of playing politics with the issue, instead of telling members of Congress to block this legislation, join me or I'll join you in telling the Congress to pass this bipartisan border security bill. How do you feel about that bill, Dan?
It is chutzpah on the level, breathtaking chutzpah we've never seen. The person who created the problem saying you caused it. It's on the level of somebody.
Yeah.
The old joke, chutzpah, is a man killing his father and mother and throwing himself on the mercy of the court as an orphan.
Right.
You've got to take care of this problem. You've got to take care of this problem that you caused that I have nothing to do with, is what he's saying. It's chutzpah in a breathtaking degree.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. Dan, thank you so much for the call. I do appreciate it, buddy. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. 605-336-1320. There was more that transpired that I did not have a chance to share with you last hour. The president, again, we've covered his comments pretty well. Donald Trump was also, of course, on the border, and Trump said he was talking. He said this is a Joe Biden invasion. So he appeared with Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Brandon Judd. Brandon Judd is the president of the National Border Patrol Council Union. And more on him in a moment, because he made some really compelling comments. In fact, we may have to pick those up on the other side of the break. But Trump said, this is a Joe Biden invasion. It's allowing thousands of people to come in from China, Iran, Yemen to Congo, Syria, and a lot of other nations. Many nations that are not friendly to us. And then Trump said also that the U.S., the country currently being overrun by Biden migrant crime, he said, and he pointed to the death of Laken Riley. She's that 22-year-old nursing student. Her funeral is today, by the way, and just so tragic, just brutally murdered, kidnapped and murdered. By this illegal, alien. And Trump said Biden will never say Laken Riley's name, but we will say it, and we will remember Trump said. So, and Trump is right about that. There is, trying to look at the time here, and definitely, I'm going to carry this over into the other side of the break, because the White House response then to Laken Riley's murder, you had Karine Jean-Pierre at the Ministry of Truth talking about this, and she said, I want to offer our condolences to the family of Laken. I mean, this is a horrific, horrific loss for any family, and obviously, whoever is found guilty, we need to make sure that that happens. And obviously, we don't want to see anything like that happen again, she said. But here's the thing. We have done the work to make sure we're dealing with a broken immigration system. The Republicans have gotten in the way. They have gotten in the way, and that's what we continue to see over and over and over again. Okay, Karine Jean-Pierre, first of all, this woman is a blithering idiot. I mean, she is an idiot on the scale that I have never seen before in my life. You've got to be kidding. First of all, and obviously, how many times could you work the word obviously into one sentence? So you hear this, the president, by the way, has said nothing as of now to the family of Laken Riley. Nothing. Said nothing. The White House then offering condolences, but what do I always say when you hear somebody use the word but? When they use the word but, forget everything you just heard. Forget everything that came before it. Now you're getting to what she really thinks. Karine Jean-Pierre, as if you cared. And Karine Jean-Pierre says, we've done the work to make sure we're dealing with a broken immigration system. And I thought, here we go again. It's the same sick song over and over and over again from this administration. It's just shocking, really. And you've got members of Congress, and they feel much like Republicans in Congress. They feel much like Brandon Judd, who is the president of the National Border Patrol Council. He says agents are mad as hell and pissed over these Biden policies. So I'm going to share more details about Brandon Judd's comments. Also, the reaction then to what the White House was saying, Karine Jean-Pierre, and the death of Laken Riley. You've got members of Congress who are being much clearer in their comments. So we'll cover all that coming up. We have been talking a little bit about the border. We had President Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who were both on the border yesterday. President Biden in Brownsville, Texas. Donald Trump, who was in Eagle Pass, Texas. And Donald Trump was joined there by Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the president of the National Border Patrol Council. His name is Brandon Judd, and he really went off. And I say that because, we've got a lot of people that are angry right now. In this case, the reason I think that he went off as strongly as he did is it kind of gives you a perspective of how people on the border, these Border Patrol, team, how they feel about what they're going through right now. There's an incredible amount of frustration, and that became really evident with Brandon Judd's comments. He said to Donald Trump, he said, "Sir, I want you to know your agents, my agents, they're mad as hell, absolutely mad that President Biden went to Brownsville, Texas, rather than going to Arizona, rather than going to San Diego, California, rather than coming to Eagle Pass, Texas, which has been the epicenter," he said. And he went on. He said, these agents, he said, they're pissed. Border Patrol agents are upset that we cannot get the proper policy that is necessary to protect human life, to protect American citizens, to protect the people that are crossing the border illegally. We can't do that because President Biden's policies continue to invite people to cross here, he said. And he said, thank goodness we have a governor like Governor Abbott. Thank goodness we have somebody that's willing to run for president of the United States, forego everything else he's been doing to serve the American people. Mr. President, thank you, he said. Wow, pretty powerful words. I want to come back to a part of this. When you hear this, I have said many times I have a great amount of reverence for people in law enforcement. I appreciate the job that they do, especially in the world today, especially in a country that is absolutely upside down today. You've got to appreciate those who, put on the uniforms of law enforcement, all kinds. I'm talking about sheriffs, local police, Border Patrol agents, those who put on their uniforms every day to try to maintain law and order. And that's what Judd's talking about here. You know, Border Patrol agents are upset that we cannot get the proper policy that is necessary to protect human life, to protect American citizens, to protect the people that are crossing the border illegally. We can't do that because President Biden's policies continue to invite people to cross here. Well said. And so frustrating for me. Got to believe for a number of other Americans as well. Not only those of us who have suffered like the family of Laken Riley. Oh, her horrible murder. You know, not even, I mean, I think there's just the general frustration of people who, you know, do we not have a duty as an American society? Do we not have a duty as Americans to follow and uphold the law? Is what it boils down to for me. It's really just that simple. And that doesn't mean that law enforcement can get away with murder no, we still hold them accountable to the law. And overwhelming number of people are, especially among law enforcement, they're great people, appreciate the job they do, and the difficult circumstances in which they're doing it. So think about the Border Patrol then. And the Biden administration policies, and it's just infuriating. I wanted to get you some other response. I mentioned the comments by that dim bulb at the White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, and what she was saying, and that brought some pretty strong response from members of Congress. Senator Tom Cotton said the Biden White House blaming anyone else but themselves for the effects of their open border policies is insane. Yeah, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? I mean, the insanity that's coming out of the mouths of in this case, the president, his, Karine Jean-Pierre, others in the administration, it's just, again, don't you feel like you're in a prize fight and you just have been beaten about the head and you to the point where you can barely even stand on your feet by the insanity of all this stuff. Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas released a statement, and he said, under President Biden's open border policies, American lives have been lost. Laken Riley's is the latest in that tragic count. At every turn, this administration has refused to hold themselves accountable, blaming everyone and everything but their own policy failures. Wow, that's a mouthful right there. Seriously, it's absolutely right. This administration has refused to hold themselves accountable. Agreed. Absolutely agree with that. They will not. They're not going to do it today. They will not do it tomorrow. This is what that party has become. Certainly this administration. And the party, beyond that, now you've got even schisms in the Democrat Party because you've got those who are even nuttier than, the stuff coming out of the administration. They're even nuttier. They want to go even further. And again, Representative Gonzalez points out what a number of others, including myself, have been saying for quite some time. With a wave of a pen, President Biden can take action on border security, but he refuses to do so. There is no excuse for the President of the United States to turn his back on communities that are clearly in danger. We need action now, he said. Senator Josh Hawley released a statement, and he said, it's telling that the White House can't even admit the truth. An illegal immigrant killed Lincoln Riley, and Joe Biden's open border is to blame. He said, it's time for the White House to take responsibility. Don't you get tired of saying it? I mean, how long have we been saying this? Senator Hawley, of course, is absolutely right. It's time for the White House to take responsibility for their dangerous policies and to take action before more Americans are hurt. Totally agree with that. Of course, it won't happen. They don't care if more Americans are hurt. Don't care about the little people, and that's what's so frustrating. And so you've got people who are crossing the border coming into this country, keeping in mind that the overwhelming number of people are not going to be, they're not coming to America to cause problems. There are those that are. Oh, yeah. There are those that are coming to America to cause problems. But the overwhelming number of people, I think, they're just like you and me. You're looking for a better life. And that number of people who aren't, those who are coming in who want to sow chaos, who want to create division, who want to, maybe even worse, harm Americans. It's incredibly frustrating. Senator Lindsey Graham was on Fox News Channel. He told Sean Hannity that Lincoln Riley's death, he didn't mince any words. He said it was caused by the Biden administration breaking the law. And he said, if I were her family and this guy actually did it, I would sue the hell out of the federal government because the Biden administration has been breaking the law for over 2 years now when it comes to parole. And these people coming in the country illegally and then getting parole. And so, it's just maddening. Senator Ted Cruz, a favorite of mine, he said Democrats, what we see going on right here, it's acceptable collateral damage in the mind of the Democrats. He tweeted this, and I understand his train of thought. Senator Cruz said, now he's talking about Democrats, they view these murders as just the price we have to pay to advance their open border agenda. So, yeah, it's just the price we're going to have to pay in order to have an open border agenda, which they have made. It's not a secret. That's what they want. They've been very, very clear about it, very candid about it. So some great, really great comments coming from some of the Republicans in Congress reacting to this, very much like you and I are, first of all, with heart. And as people who are sick and tired of seeing their country being shredded and the harm that's coming to Americans like Lincoln Riley. Her funeral is today, and it's one of the stories that Fox News will be covering today. Lincoln Riley, it's just incredibly, incredibly heartbreaking. So Donald Trump was on the Sean Hannity show. He was on Hannity last night, and he said of the Democrats and what they're doing, Trump told Hannity, he said, it's all disinformation. Russia, 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 everything they do, the Democrats. And I guess you have to say they're masters at it. You know, they'll say something 1,000 times. The border is great. The border is closed. And they'll say it 1,000 different times, and some people are going to believe it, which is true. They just keep repeating it. They just keep, peddling the same lies over and over and over again with the hope that then a growing number, you're going to have a number of people who believe it. And Trump said of what they're doing, he said they've destroyed the border, and they're in the process of destroying our country, he told Sean Hannity. So Trump also criticized the president's visit. He said, they found out for sure that I was coming. Then all of a sudden, they announced that they're coming. But they went to the wrong area. They went to an area that the governor and myself have done a good job on and is essentially nobody coming through. So, you're not seeing it. And he said, he's talking about the Eagle Pass area. He said, this area is tough, he said. Trump also said he criticized Governor Katie Hobbs of Arizona and California Governor Gavin Newsom. Did you hear that? Trump now is calling him Newscum. He said, the problem you have in Arizona, you have a governor, very liberal governor. He said that a lot of people say shouldn't be the governor. And in California, Newsom's doing a terrible job. I mean, other than talking about how wonderful it is, that's about it. But Trump went a little bit further, talking about, he said, starting with the border, he said, we have the most secure border, and people weren't coming because they knew they wouldn't get in. And we weren't promising free education, free medical, free everything. I mean, all the promises that are made, no wonder they come, Trump said. And then he said, look at what this governor, Newsom from California, isn't that his name, Newscum? What he's done to, which made me laugh when I saw it, seriously. Trump has got a gift for that when it comes to his political enemies. Trump said what he's done to California is unbelievable. People are pouring in, think they will get medical aid, and our soldiers, our veterans, aren't being taken care of, but people that come into our country illegally are. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's just so frustrating as you see this. Also, you've got the some of the reactions. I think I lost it. We talk about the killing of Laken Riley. There's a lot of frustration out there. Oh, I know what it was. Actually, it was on another issue. And it's worth mentioning because it's a big story. The Senate has approved the House-passed stopgap bill that will prevent a partial government shutdown. This is one of the other things that you've got some Republicans are just outraged about. So this happened. So it was approved by the Senate, and this will then now send it to the president, who will sign it. And you've got Republicans over in the House of Representatives who are almost frothing at the mouth over this. And I don't blame them at all. Representative Chip Roy of Texas said of this, he said, it's just the usual crap. Swamp is going to swamp. Nothing's changing. We're spending more money. We're not changing the bureaucracy. We're afraid to shut down. which I think in and of itself is a discussion worth having, shutting the government down. What do you notice? The more fear the Democrats have of the government shutting down, the less fear I have of it. Because I used to, we can't have the government shutting down. This is me years ago. Can't shut that government down. Baloney. Baloney. Has your life ever changed when the government shut down? I worked the next day, found out, no, doors here were still open. Your life still went on. My life still went on. Government shut down. I agree with Chip Roy. Shut the government down. Also, the chair of the House Freedom Caucus, Bob Good of Virginia, said of this, he said, we got no wins for the American people. We're just further exacerbating the debt situation by continuing the spending levels, the policies that are destroying the country. We're doing nothing for the border. We're doing nothing to demonstrate we really care about the spending. And all this time it was a bridge to a bill that will be even worse. And so then Good was asked, will the House Speaker Johnson then face any pushback? And Good just said everything's on the table to try to figure out what to do, but it's unfortunate the direction that we've chosen to go. Representative Andy Biggs also spoke out. He said, we just keep spending money, and we keep the policies that are in place, and that means the border remains open. This country is in danger because of this administration, but not just the administration, but because this body does not use what the founders gave us as the ultimate tool, and that is the purse strings. And Representative Biggs is absolutely right.